Good morning, everyone. How is everybody? Oh, yay. Thank you all for coming today. It's our joy to be here today. And since we are turning a new year in a couple of days, I thought I would start by reading Yogananda's thoughts to students and friends on New Year's. He wrote this in 1937. The new year has come to greet you with new hopes, new determination, new will to achieve, new activities. In the temple of the new year, renew your reverence for the unlimited hidden power of God within you. The trails of trials and the yawning chasms of woe have been left behind in the dark night of the past. Now you are entering the daylight of a newborn hope of the new year. Cast off the coil of the decayed thoughts of the past years. Be reincarnated into vital living of the new year. Every regret for shattered hopes of success must be transformed into the joy of new achievements during the new year. Old sorrows and disappointments must be buried beneath the sepulchre of the past year. Those dark bandits of discouragement must not remain any longer to steal the wealth of your desire to succeed. Every day in the new year must become an altar for the God of new living, new achievements in wisdom, and new joy. Every day in the new year must bring hope and cheer to yourself and all humanity. Take all the salvaged treasures of good experiences from the sea of past experience and use them to buy new accomplishments in the new year. In the garden of the new year, culture the seeds of well-planned new activities until they grow into fragrant, flowering plants of diverse successes. Let every day in the new year become a step upward on the ladder of your self-realization. Make every day of the new year a better day than the previous one for greater effort to succeed in business, family, happiness, and increasing the ever-new joy contact of God in meditation. The old year has gone, but the new year is full of treasures for you to use. Bury the bad habit of failure in the tomb of the old year and reincarnate your life energy in the vitality of the new year. May the new year spread the example and message of your renewed life and renewed power unto all creation. Om, peace. Amen. He has such a way with words, doesn't he? It's so beautiful. We could end our talk right there. The beauty of this time of year is that it's a chance to pause, isn't it? To catch our breath from the festivities and the activities and to reflect and introspect. It's a time, you could say, to redeposit into our bank account of what? Of joy, kindness, peace, love. And how do we do that? Yogananda talked about this in this reading, about finding that joy again in meditation. That's where we're going to renew that bank account. It's like when we have a bank account in the bank, if we want money in it, we have to put money into it, don't we? Same thing, if we want to feel joy, if we want to feel love, peace, all those qualities of spirit, we have to put money into that bank account. And it's lovely that we can have a lovely outward temple. You know, it's nice to have an outward temple where it's beautiful, places like this. But we need to also make our inner temple beautiful. And again, how do we do that? By meditation, by spending time in doing that. And it's in those moments that we can do that. You know, do that by spending time in meditation, by relaxing the heart, by opening the heart, by just showing up for meditation, offering our best efforts that we can make that inner temple so beautiful. And then our reading this morning, our affirmation on high-mindedness, and even Yogananda in this reading reminded us that then we need to also share what we find in meditation. Share that joy, share those qualities of spirit. Our path is one of meditation and service. Again, not holding it for ourselves, again, but sharing that. Because what we always say, the channel is blessed by what it receives, by what it gives. If we can share that joy, what we're affected most by it. Yes, the others get blessed by it, but we get blessed probably even twice as much, would be my guess, or a lot more also. But again, the opposite is also true if we share unkindness or lack of generosity or whatever it is. If anything we hold, it touches us first, really. We're really touching us first before we're even affecting the other person. So that reminder to go into the silence, keep going deep in that meditation, and remembering to bring God into those moments. As we enter this new year, that reminder, bring God with us. Share everything with God, okay? You know, we're not perfect. We're still here. We're learning a lot of lessons. This is our schoolyard. I love the prayer of the man that said, "Dear God, so far so good. I haven't hurt anybody's feelings. I haven't made any mistakes. I haven't blah, blah, blah." You can fill in the blanks. But in a few minutes, I'm going to be getting out of bed, and I'm going to need a lot more help. Inviting God to share with us. And how do we do it? It's in those moments. Yogananda said, take care of the moments. The years take care of themselves. What's a moment? A breath. What's a moment? A thought. What's a moment? An action. Every single, if we just reflect, just very conscious, we have an opportunity. It's, again, such a wonderful time because, as Yogananda's reading said, we can let go of the past. We can bury those old habits. We can just let go of all those things. Those are not who we are. But we can add all of our energy, all those positive qualities we have, all those tendencies, habits that remind us of spirit, whatever they are, walking out in nature, reading an inspirational book, coming to Sunday service, whatever they are. We can keep putting those deposits into our bank account. So what? So we can experience that love, joy, peace. And then we're reminded, I guess, again, also in our reading that we're all united, aren't we? It's like if you have a necklace, you know, each bead may look different, but the thread uniting all those beads is the same. Okay, that reminder that we're all one in spirit, that unity of our oneness in God. There was at a park one Sunday, there was a big Sunday school picnic, and there was the Catholic Church was there, the Protestants were there, and other faiths, and there were these two little kids playing together. One little boy was from the Catholic Church, one was from the Protestant Church, and they didn't want to get their Sunday schools dirty. You know, they wanted to play in the sandbox, so they said, you know, let's just take off our clothes so we don't get our clothes, so our moms don't get mad at us. And then no sooner do they start, and the little girl screams, and she goes running back to her mom, and she says, "Mommy, you were right. There is a difference between the Catholics and the Protestants." It's so important what we give to others. You know, it's important to balance, again, that inner and that outer. Because what we find in meditation is the greatest gift we can share with each other, and the world needs it so desperately. So I don't know, this time is not really a time for talking. I think it's a time for us to reflect deeper, but let's join together with the hope of this new year, the hope of this that this year, new year can be better. Each moment can be better. Let's unite our energies together and just love God more deeply. Share His love, share His kindness, share His joy in whatever we're doing. And let's support each other in it. Let's hold hands together. Let's give each other our prayers and our best efforts that we can make a difference each moment, each breath, each thought. So Diva will also be sharing a few words. God bless you all, and Happy New Year.
Risque. Good morning, everyone, and nice to be spending this time together. There's been a thought in the back of my mind for several years now. I haven't known quite how to talk about it, but it's along the lines of what Ganga Mata was referring to. It coincides with the joke that I've told a couple times, but remains still one of my absolute favorites, about the builder who was out on out sailing in the South Pacific, and with some friends and fell off his ship and disappeared and was lost. And there was a lot of mourning. But many years later, his friends were sailing in those same waters, and they saw an island they had not noticed before. And they sailed over to it, and lo and behold, there on the shore, they saw a little structure. And it was beautiful, and they got off. And pretty soon their friend came out of the jungle and came over to them, and there was this great rejoicing. He had found this island when he'd fallen overboard and has spent the intervening years there. And they were ready to take him back on board and all go back to civilization. He said, before we do, I want to show you around my island. And he took them to one place, and he had built this beautiful structure. And they said, well, what's this? And he said, this is where I've been living these years. And it's just, they appreciated it. The craftsmanship was exquisite. It was just lovely. And he said, now I'd like to show you something else. And they went off across this area to this beautiful glade, and there was this gorgeous, gorgeous structure. And his friend said, well, what is this? He said, this is where I worship. This is where I come and I feel the presence of God, and I spend time in meditation and a lot of prayer these years, you can imagine. And they were leaving and getting ready to go back to the boat, and one of his friends saw some building kind of across the glade and tucked back in, and he said, well, what's that? There's a beautiful building back there. What's that? He says, oh, that's where I used to go to church. We are deeply blessed. We are blessed beyond measure in that we have found an understanding of religion that is self-realization. It's the understanding that the closest point of contact with God, God is omnipresent. The closest point of contact we will ever have isn't out there someplace. It's at the very center of our own heart, the very center of our own consciousness. And that in that contact lies every single thing we've ever sought. And then we're given these beautiful teachings, these practices to help us know how to get in contact with that point at our center. And the Bible gives a great but somewhat cryptic guideline. And if you took nothing else from the Bible, this would be enough if we understood it deeply, and that is, be still and know. Be still and know that I am God. If we really could just do that, if we could take that one sentence and just behave, everything else would take care of itself. If we could just become still, but those of us who have tried it without tools and techniques and support know how difficult that is. But what we tend to do, and what I've seen even on this path, even within this group of people, within these teachings, is we tend to externalize our process. We tend to look to Swami Kriyananda or these masters or the spiritual directors of Ananda Portland or other people, and we use them as a barometer of our own development and an excuse to not make effort. They aren't doing well enough. It's their fault, their problem. This is their temple, they should take care of it. We externalize what is an internal process. And then we use that externalization as an excuse for not making our own efforts. Yogananda, he said, we should not look around, we should look neither left nor right, but look deep within our own hearts. We have been given every single tool, every single teaching, every single support device that is humanly possible or divinely possible to make it possible for us to commune with God directly. And it's interesting, but when we receive a blessing, when we're in ignorance, when we don't know, The fact that we don't get it right isn't a karmic problem. Because how could we possibly get it right if we don't, a friend of mine says, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. If you don't know what's possible, then not fulfilling what's possible isn't a big thing. But once we know, once our hearts have yearned so deeply that we've gotten a divine response, that God has come to us and said, I hear you, and everything you seek can be fulfilled, then we also take on the responsibility for whether we fulfill that ourselves or not. This is not a path of convenience, and this is not a pulpit from which we speak to the convenience of the ego. This is not a pulpit where we all sit around and help ourselves feel good for making mediocre efforts. This is a place where we've been given the tremendous and unparalleled gift of the teachings that will allow us to find God, to commune with God directly, and to bring that light through our own lives into the lives of others. And if we're not doing it, if it's not happening for us, it's not Daiva's fault. It's not the fault of the neighbors. It's not the fault of anything except our own efforts. We have a new year. We have a brilliant new opportunity. I love how fresh Yogananda is. He says, start it over, reset the clock, bury dead disappointments in the funeral of yesterday. Let it all go. Every single moment is alive with the same poignant, beautiful, rich, abundant possibility to feel the presence of God and to live in that presence, to live in His joy. I am love, I am peace, I am joy. I am an empty vessel filled with the presence of God. Everything else is delusion. Everything else is false. Everything else is the show, is the lila, is the dream. And if we get caught in the dream, if we don't know how to not get caught in the dream and we get caught in the dream, okay. But if we know better and we get caught in the dream and we reaffirm that and we reassert ourselves that the dream is true, then we also, we suffer. And we suffer more for the fact that we do know better, but we also incur karma. We also begin to pick up a debt. And that debt is to all those souls that Master and God would reach through you, through me. But can't because of our commitment to something smaller. We have got a beautiful moment together. We've got a gift of community. It's one of the rare and remarkable richnesses of Ananda life, is we have community. We have community like this together today. We have living environments, and they're extraordinarily powerful in their ability to uplift our consciousness. But we can also get distracted in them. And we can also make them the noise that keeps us busy or the excuse for why we don't do enough of our own practice, of our own efforts. So I would just say, as Gangamata said, this is a moment of rest, right here, right now. This week, this New Year's, Christ has been born in our hearts. The beauty of the season is there. If we internalize it, if we use this period of time to deepen our own commitment to self-realization and to allowing the Master's gift to us to fulfill itself, we can become increasingly pure channels for the grace of God into this world that so desperately needs even the smallest glimmerings of divine light. And our own lives can be fulfilled. It's fun. I've got nearly 30 years, actually 32 years on this path. And, older folks always stand up and say, you have no idea how fast it goes. And I will lend my voice to that same that same group of people. You have no idea how fast it goes. The years become as weeks and months. And there's no guarantee for any of us. There's no guarantee that we will get in the next life, that we will get the same kind of blessing that we currently have. That's okay. Do you need hot water or anything? Okay. That we will get this kind of blessing, this kind of proximity to pure teachings. You know, think how easy it would be for your life to be just slightly different. Instead of being born in America, you'd been born in Afghanistan or Nigeria or Nairobi or, I don't know, Tibet. You know, think if you'd been born to great poverty and it was just the heart of Chicago instead of Portland, Oregon. Or what if you had been born 50 years earlier or 80 years earlier? And just a small little adjustment, and all of these things that we take as graces would just be gone. They would just not be there. If we had missed Yogananda, if we'd come just before, and Yogananda said of his own teachings, he said, if I came back in 100 years, I doubt I would even recognize these teachings because people just change them. They simplify them. They amend them to their own convenience. So I would just say, let's take a moment. Let's really feel for the deep and profound blessing we've been given. Let's allow no excuse. Let's allow nobody else to be the problem. No circumstance to be the problem. Let's determine from inside our own center to make God the most important thing, and the finding of God the most important thing, and the sharing then of what we find the most important thing that fills the moments of our days. So that at the end of this year, this 2015, this next opportunity to reset the clock, at the end of this next year, we can look back and we can say, now that is the way we do it at Ananda Portland. That we find ourselves alive from having gone so deep and shared so richly with others. Let's think about, who would you invite into this room? Why are there empty seats here today? Who have you not invited? Who have you not invited from all those whose lives touch yours to feel the presence of God, to come and join you in this feast of joy? Whose lives can you enrich? What can you do, having drunk deep of God's presence, to then turn and radiate it into the lives of others, where there's sadness, where there's loneliness, where there's despair, where there's just even the awareness of the passing of time and no way to get a grip on meaning from the moments? Let's not make an excuse. Let's not, that's where I used to go to church, or that's who I used to follow, or that's what I used to do. Let's make, this is what I do. And make the moments. You know, the tools, a carpenter every day, he gets up and he uses the same skill saw. He uses the same square, the same plane, the same tool belt. And he makes increasing beauty every day and builds all kinds of unique buildings and all kinds of fascinating things. The tools we have are the same tools. It's, as Gangamata said, it's meditation, it's Kriya Yoga, it's divine friendship and self-offering and service. Let's make this temple shine with self-realization from our own center. And then let that overflow out in blessings into this world. Let's take a moment of silence together.